Hey, what's happening? Justice Warriors, how are you guys doing? My goodness. Oh my goodness, where to begin? Today I'm going to be focusing on a topic that I don't think I've ever really focused on my YouTube channel. That's Suzanne Morphew. Whoa, you guys heard the news, right? She was found a week ago tomorrow. Her remains were found, and so they just announced it yesterday on the news. Crazy. But I'm glad you heard about it, Dana. Yeah, I mean, it's such great news, but I have a lot to share with you about the Suzanne Morphew case. I actually had some involvement, not a lot, but I'll share it with you. Anyway, let's get started with our normal. Please hit your thumbs up button if you would be so kind. Share, subscribe, ring your notification bell if you like. Hey, Mark, how are you guys? Both Dana and Mark and Pixie Knickers. Awesome. I have to admit, Pixie Knickers, I tried to look at the email, but I was on the wrong device, so it took me to my other email. So I couldn't see your email yet because I'd have to look at it on this laptop. And I meant to do that so I know what you look like, my beautiful. Let's also start with my disclaimer and showing the jewelry that we're doing the giveaway for today. I don't know if this is the best way to show it, but it's what I got. So I put the photographs on the community post. The earrings are super simple. They're just like metal rods with a very cool green glass bead and then some metal, whoops, there we go, metal spacers that have some nice texture on them. So those are the earrings. And then the necklace is an interesting piece of wood with uh, a scripture on the back, a psalm. So again, oopsie, you can see them more better on the community page, and I'll just kind of hold them up so you can see them here. And then the way I'm doing this giveaway today is the second person in the comment section when the video is over. So good luck, everybody. I hope you win. And I'm giving them away together as a set. So I had said a week or so ago that I was going to split up the earrings and the necklace, but I hadn't selected them yet. So those are the ones I selected, and they don't match. I don't really like stuff that like matches. I like stuff that just complements each other, that kind of rhymes, if you know what I mean. So the greens are a little bit different. The shapes kind of match. Anyway, we're not a jewelry channel, we're a home decor channel, right? Saw the news on Suzanne. What do you think, Justice? It's fantastic, Mark. It is 100% freaking amazing. So I had some direct contact with the investigators over the course of the case. I don't want to say much about it, but what I do want to say is that they know what they're doing. So this is exciting. This is huge. The family, her brother and her stepbrother, this is all they wanted was to find her remains. I could just cry. It's fantastic. So, my little disclaimer, everything I say is only my opinion. It's simply for the sake of conversation, hoping to open up a discussion. My aim is to learn something, and my hope is that my videos are educational for others as well, and they are all made specifically for YouTube, and it's an entertainment platform. So those don't go with my eye color. Mark, you're so cute. Um, I wrote on your post that I'm removing myself from winning since I won last time. Oh, pixie knickers. You don't have to do that. You can try to be the second one because then, you could have a collection. Um, but that's thoughtful. But like I said, don't feel obligated at all. Go ahead and give it your best shot. You had the luck for the first time for the first one, and I'll be doing them as often as I can. I'm excited because I have too much jewelry. I don't wanna sell this stuff. I only wanna give it away because it's sort of like putting your children up for adoption. You're not gonna sell them unless you're some crazy freak. And I used to be a professional jewelry designer, so I did sell my children, so to speak, back then, and I got used to it because it was just what I did for a living. It was my bread and butter. But it was fun to see people wearing your stuff. It's really cool, especially when they're, like, total strangers and you just happen to run into them on the street. Anyway, let's get rolling with the news, the huge news about Suzanne Morphew. It's such exciting news. I really couldn't believe it. Um, and like I said, I don't wanna say too much, just out of, uh full respect for the integrity of the investigation and the suit, the criminal proceedings. As you guys are probably aware, if you've paid attention to the Suzanne Morphew case, Barry Morphew and his attorneys had launched lawsuits against God and everyone else on planet Earth, essentially. Tyson Draper and the prosecuting attorneys, and I think the list was probably like 20 people long. I wasn't on it, thank goodness, but Tyson took down his video, I think, because of that. He's the guy who went rogue and made that amazing YouTube video where he met Barry and Barry showed him what happened. I mean, what he was told might have happened. He's like, "Come on, I'll show you what happened." I mean, it you guys have seen it, I'm sure. Anyway, I went to Tyson Draper's channel and it was gone. So I figured that's because he was named in the lawsuit. But I was able to find clips of it on, I think, was it the interview room with Chris McDonough and Mike? I was looking at both of their channels and some old videos about the case. So, anyway, I will put the link to it in the description, of course. And if you guys know where to see more of the whole video that Tyson Draper made, it's my belief that that video that he made is what really propelled the case forward, and they were able to arrest Barry the first time. And they did not want to go to trial because they withdrew the prosecution withdrew their case 9 days before the trial was gonna start, because they thought they could build a more solid case, and they didn't want to blow their potential of, you know anyway, I'm gonna zip it. Um, what else do I wanna say about it? Because as long as I don't say too much, I can leave the video. So, I paid very, very close attention to the Suzanne Morphew case. I really identified with her for many reasons. We're very close in age. I tend to do some extreme athletics as well. I would, always, put safety first, and I'm sure she did too. She did not go for a bike ride that day, in my humble opinion. She had just bought that bike. It was probably like a $10,000 bike, I'm not 100% sure. It was like the most expensive type of bike you can possibly find, and it was pretty new, and she really hadn't ridden it much. It was something she was considering. So, I want to mention, and I'll see if I can get a link to it to put in the description, the 48 hours that was made about, I think, a year and a half ago. Suzanne Morphew, Nothing is What It Seems, or something like that. I want to say it was like season 34, episode 20. I was in Zav Girls Live last night, in the chat, and I was looking it up and sharing it with people because it was really good. They did an incredible job. Um, so I do want to talk a lot about Maui today as well. I want to talk about ethics and the lack of. I'm going to talk some about Kylie Rodney's case. I want to stay focused though on Suzanne and Maui. Let's see. Um, Ninja Chihuahua just came out with a really good one on Kylie Rodney just in the last couple of, like in the last like 8 hours or something. Um, Remember those weird videos in the Kylie Rodney case? The chances of your best friend offing you are slim, except if her bust size is bigger than yours or something. It was so weird. It was so weird. Where did I put the notes for that? Um, Zav Girl stuff, because that's where I put the video. I know it was in one of these two notebooks. I just have too many pages right now. And I am bound and determined to find it because I might just fail. I know I was taking notes. Anyway, maybe it was my imagination. All right, what are you guys saying? Um, I feel there needs to be a deep dive into every arrest these days. The amount of people being railroaded on a daily basis is mind blowing and disgusting. Well, there's also the lack of uh, ethics and illegal activity that goes on in some law enforcement. So that definitely needs to be scrutinized. Actually, I don't know how much at all about the case other than the lady's name and face. So Suzanne Morphew, I'll give you a quick brief overview for folks like Dana that don't know much. Allegedly, she went on a bike ride on Mother's Day, and she was the mother of two teenage daughters that were away on a camping trip. This was Mother's Day of 2020, so it was in the peak of COVID. And Colorado was one of those states like California and Washington that had like major restrictions. But Suzanne was a two-time cancer survivor. So she had major concerns. And one of her daughters was away at college. The other one, who was 16, was living with her boyfriend in town because he was a really sweet kid and the families got along really well. And Suzanne was just really concerned about her exposure to any germs with her cancer treatment and her fighting it, winning a second time. The way they identified her body um, is from her cancer report and dental records. Isn't that weird? Why would you use dental records? I'm being sarcastic, of course, because of the Kylie Rodney case. Anyway, so with her medical cancer report and the dental records, so they know for a fact it was her. I'm just astounded because I really thought that the criminal defendant, or who was the criminal defendant, I would imagine he could be getting rearrested in the very near future. Um, he was an expert, avid hunter, and he owned his own landscaping business, so an expert in that, and also a volunteer firefighter. So his expertise in those three things combined, I figured he had the knowledge and the access to the resources to completely make sure she was never found again. Um, and so I'm just amazed that she's been found, and I couldn't be happier. Anyway, so let me do I want to I love keeping up with your stuff, but let me just go ahead with the story there. So the story was that she went for a bike ride on Mother's Day. The daughters were on a camping trip, and the dad was Barry Morphew was in Broomfield, Colorado. He says working on redoing a retention wall that one of his Bozo employees had done maybe the year before, and he had to tear it up and redo it. That didn't pan out because in Broomfield, you're not allowed to do any type of project like that on a Sunday ever. I don't even think on a Saturday. But this was not only a Sunday, it was Mother's Day. So that was, I think, story number one that he had, alibi number one, and then alibi number two was like he was at a firefighting training again on Mother's Day on a Sunday. There was no firefighting training, so then he went back to the retention wall building thing. And he was in Broomsfield at some point, but anyway, the 48 hours episode that I it's either season 32 or season 34 and it's episode 20. Pretty sure about that. And it's called Suzanne Morphew Nothing is What It Seems, I think. Like I said, I had it all written down, but the paper disappeared. So sorry about that. This is why I try to consolidate and only have one notebook. But then if I'm not near that notebook and I need to write down some thoughts, then I grab another notebook. And yeah, anyway, enough about my problems. Um, so in that 48 hours episode, they did a really good job of depicting precisely what happened. So kind of like in the Watts case, there's a lot of body cam. So not only was there Tyson Draper's body cam, and honestly, I don't remember if they used that in the 48 hours episode because I haven't had a chance to rewatch it since finding all this good news out. But I will because anyway, they have like the body cam of law enforcement. And one of the officers, when he sees the bike that has, in my opinion, obviously been set very carefully at the bottom of this hill or this ravine, because it's exactly upside down with the wheels sticking straight up. There's not a scratch on it. There's not a fingerprint on it, you guys. I just remembered that. Not a single fingerprint on the bike anywhere. Dead giveaway. Dead freaking giveaway, especially because Suzanne had had her bike guy do some work on it recently. So somebody wiped it down when they put it there. Anyway, not only were there no scratches on the bike, there was no like broken branches or bramble or anything from the gravel road down to where the bike was located. And in Zav Girls Live last night, I saw some people criticizing the law enforcement for touching the bike without gloves. But at that point in time, they were buying Mr. Morphew's story that his wife was going on this big bike ride. That's another Kids in the Hall episode. I'm in the middle of a big bike race. Okay, I'm staying focused. Um, and so when they saw the bike, they carefully retrieved it. So it is one officer who did not have gloves on when he handled the bike, but he was extremely careful, extremely professional. He had his body cam on. He was doing his job. There was no reason at that point in time to suspect foul play. Quickly, once Mr. Morphew drove back to Salida, the town that they lived in, and I think it's a 3-hour drive. So he got back at 9 PM. And as soon as probably before he even got there, if they'd been talking to him on the phone, but once he arrived, they knew right away that shit wasn't adding up. And one of the ways that they knew was because he's such a bad actor. And for that, we can thank him. As soon as he got out of his car and met with the police at the point in the gravel road, which is between their house and the main road, but like she didn't even get up to the main road, allegedly, with his sham story. As soon as he pulls up there, gets out of his rig and starts interacting with them, he starts going like this. He's like, "Is that where her bike was found?" And he's not even crying, but he's acting like it, right? And it's like, dude, if this is this situation presented, if this is at all real, your wife may have gotten in a bike accident and she was able to get up and walk away and there's no blood. So why are you crying again? They knew right away. They're like, this dude is like jacked. Like things aren't right. So then again, I'm not sure if it's the same officer or different officer. I think it's a different one that has his body cam when he's supervising Barry going into his own house. And Barry doesn't realize that he's being supervised, but they are not leaving him alone in a room for a second. And it's the only time, to my knowledge, that he was ever allowed in that home once Suzanne was reported missing. That was the only time he was ever allowed in there, to my knowledge. So the officer is with him, and they went in for the distinct purpose of retrieving some of her dirty clothes so that they could get the dog trained to follow her scent, right? So the clothes that he reaches into the hamper and pulls out are athletic wear, and it's like biker shorts, with the cushion in the crotch. I'm pretty sure. Like I said, it's been a while, so if I misrepresent something, forgive me, please. But I'm pretty sure it's the bike shorts with the crotch cushioned, and those are important when you're on a long bike ride. You have to have those. You have to have those. And whether you're male or female. And then it was a jog bra and um, was it a light blue shirt? Like because he said that she was last seen in a light blue shirt, right? So I think that it was like the outfit that she would have been wearing had she gone on a bike ride, but maybe she went on a bike ride the day before. I don't know. Anyway, there was another article that was in the car, in her car, that was something like maybe her water bottle or a vest. I think it was her sunglasses. Something that she definitely would have had with her if she were on a bike ride was found in her car. So that was a separate thing. But anyway, he hands over those clothes. So again, they're like, okay, um, they don't really know that she only has one set of shorts like that. Um, but that's the impression that I was under when I was following this case really closely, and I did follow it really closely. Um, what else? It's so sad because so many people got ensnared in this drama. The next door neighbor was pretty elderly, like at least 70, and Barry, what did he do? The daughters called him because they said, "Dad, we're worried. We can't get a hold of Mom, and it's Mother's Day." And she was always super prompt at returning a text or a call. So the daughters called him, and then I think he told them, "Call the next door neighbor and have the next door neighbor go look." So somebody, I think it was the daughters, called the 70-year-old next door neighbor. She went over and looked and said, everything's fine. The car's in the garage. I don't know what to tell you. And then they had her go back and look for the bike. And then she's like, oh, yeah, the bike's not there hanging on the wall. So this woman had a really rough time because she got caught up in the thick of it, and it affected her health extremely adversely. And this is what pisses me off so much about perpetrators. So also, I forget both of the daughters' names. One of them is Mallory, and I think that that's the younger one that was 16 at the time that was living with the boyfriend. Um, I forget the older daughter's name if anybody remembers and wants to put it in there in the chat. Anyway, the 16-year-old's boyfriend that she was living with, she called him and said, "Oh no, something's going on with my mom." So him and his father raced over to the home that the Morphews lived at, and they're on body cam speaking with the law enforcement. And I just want you to know that these are top quality, top shelf people. I mean, they're just good people. And there was nothing creepy, in my opinion, about the 16-year-old living with her boyfriend because they were supervised by his parents, and it was because of Suzanne's health condition. So it was really necessary and a good decision to make. Um, and, because some people were like, "Why is the boyfriend there? Like, that's creepy." It's like, no, it's not creepy at all. The daughter lived with him, and she called him, and he was Johnny on the spot. So, anyway, just to lay out some of that groundwork, and let me try to keep up with some of your chat because I don't want to miss all of it. But I'm just going to try to stay right in the page so that I don't get lost and fall way behind. Like Truckee took everyone's word on Kylie. Nico, so true. Shouldn't officers always suspect foul play? Annie Ruler, okay, why now? Does Mr. M have a girlfriend he needed to prove her dead for? Life insurance because thinks involvement is over. Why now? Annie Ruler, you are just so suspicious of everyone, aren't you? And I'm totally teasing you because you are always like miles ahead of the game. So yeah, maybe it was intentional, but uh the story is that law enforcement or the search in that area was for a completely unrelated case, and it's like 45 minutes or an hour away from Salida, and they just happened to find Suzanne's remains. So there's not any information about what was the cause of her unaliving or other information, as far as condition, which obviously it's been 3.5 years. So it's going to be very far gone. Although, I'm sure that um, being an avid hunter and taxidermist like Mr. Morphew was, that he had refrigeration and freezers and all that kind of stuff. But that's a really good question to be suspicious of, Annie Ruler. I see, I hadn't even gotten there. I just thought, oh man, bad luck for Mr. Morphew. And I'm just amazed that she was found, and I'm delighted, absolutely delighted. Um, so the double jeopardy thing can't apply here, correct? Exactly. They um, did not pursue the prosecution so to avoid that. So I'm sure that his attorney, what is her name? Iron? It's Iris, like Iris, and then her last name starts with an E, and it's like EY something, and um, she's quite a piece of work in my humble opinion. But she'll probably go straight for something like that. Oh, you can't arrest him twice, and I want to see how long it takes for them to withdraw their freaking lawsuits against everybody. Um, don't shop hungry on an empty stomach. Yes, definitely. um Her license, her water in the car. Thank you, mom. It's AFPA style. Thank you. But her sunglasses too, right? So yeah, her water bottle and her license, right? And she would have taken her license on a bike ride, because if you're going to go on a long bike ride by yourself, you think about stuff like that. Like, what if I were to get hurt? I need to have my ID on me. And anyway, Annie Ruler says, hate guns, revolver hurt my hand too much, store in Vegas. So as soon as the law enforcement went into the Morphew home, they noticed fresh bullet marks in the bedroom. I think it was around the door frame, but I might be mistaken in my accuracy there. But somewhere in the bedroom, there was at least one fresh bullet mark that night, when that Mother's Day night that she allegedly went missing. So, oh, and I don't want to forget to mention the voting. Remember that Mr. Morphew voted for his disappeared wife, Suzanne, and then they actually pressed charges for that, because that was like one of the first things that they could really hang their hat on. And he tried to pretend like he didn't know that that was a crime. And to me, it seems really obvious that he was trying to make a case for, oh, look, she is alive because she voted, right? Kind of like using somebody's cell phone and texting their mom or something. Double jeopardy is when one has been convicted or took a plea deal for a crime, and then they want to charge you with a different crime on the same body, or upgrade from third, second, first degree. Exactly. Rolo Moto. Thank you so much for that info right there. And meet our buddy Rolo. Is he eagle eye and founds lots of new stuff? Um, So I want to say that, in my opinion, Barry Morphew has a very large army of trolls that will get vicious and come after you. And I did put hashtag Suzanne Morphew in my um, title for this live. So um, expect it. And mods, if you can be on guard, because they are fierce, but they're also really obvious. Like you're not going to miss them. So uh, yeah, and all of the social media bullying in the world can't help that MF now, in my humble opinion. We all sus in your mind. Yeah, Annie Ruler is just so sus of everyone, including me. No, just kidding. JC says, Jazz, thanks for the detail on Suzanne's case. It's not one I followed back then, 2020. Curious where in Colorado was that? So they were in a very small town called Salida. And when I say small, again, it's been years since I looked it up. I want to say it's a town of like 200 or 300 people. It's really small, really cute, in the mountains, and their house was so remote, like so far from the next door neighbor. Sort of like how they tried to pretend the Koberger's house was in Pennsylvania, when the Koberger's house was probably on like a plot, maybe a quarter acre. But the Morphew's house is on a plot that's probably 20 acres, like that elderly woman, and maybe not so elderly, maybe a fit, healthy 70 years old. When she came over to the house, it was quite a hike, and she was the closest neighbor. And then Barry had a really good friend. Does anybody remember what his name was? The army dude. Um, oh, I had it this morning. The friend that lived also next door. So, George, you guys remember George? Okay. Um, let's see. On guard, oh crap, work. Man, Zav girl was getting hit hard last night. Oh man. And her mod was still at work, they said. So they're like, sorry, I'm kind of snoozing on the job or something. Anyway, they were handling it. I have no knowledge about this case, don't know anything if he's been accused or what. I just wanted more or less try to give you something from my past experiences. Well, thank you, Rola Moda. Um, yeah, sounds like you might work in the courts or law enforcement or something. And Macy and Mallory are the daughters. Thank you. And Macy's the older one, right? Mallory was the 16-year-old at the time. Macy was the one that was in college. And Mark says, I'm sus on everyone too. We all are, right? I mean, all of us in true crime, like, how could you be in true crime and not be sus of everyone, right? I mean, I know a lot of people were sus of me when I started my channel, and they were just like, oh, all these Kylie Rodney channels coming out of the woodwork. Have you seen Justice A to Z? So, I mean, I was just happy people were talking about me. And of course, I would expect people to be suspicious of a new channel. But every channel is new at some point in time. So, and I think it was one of the guys from the interview room who was in one of my chats early on. I think it was Mike. Um, but anyway, those guys, I love them. I used to watch them all the time, and I would love to be in contact with them because I want to know what the heck they were thinking when they had the people profiling. Um, oh, Profiling Evil is the other show. So Interview Room and Profiling Evil. So when they were on the interview room profiling Sammy Smith in her interview with Tony Dodge, and they were just like giving her the all free and clear, like, yeah, she totally checks out. She's 100% trustworthy, and on and on and on. That was crazy. And like, why did they do that? And it was so far from the truth, and it really set the case back. And I was mad. I quit watching their channels. I am always willing to give people second chances and forgive, and I forgive them for that. But that's why I just, I used to be like in their chats and stuff like that. I used to think very highly of them. And that situation with that interview room episode blew my mind. And it blew my respect for them, but only temporarily. Watching their shows about the Suzanne Morphew case since last night, I've watched a couple of them from back then. And, I love those guys. I really do. So, anyway, let's get on with it. So yeah, Macy, Mallory, um, the older one has a very inappropriate alignment with Daddy. I'm just going to leave it right there. So if you guys paid attention to that case, you know. She had a spy pen in her bedroom trying to catch BM cheating. Well, she might have been trying to catch other stuff too. There was a lot of financial problems going on. So, for people that don't know, Suzanne Morphew's family started a root beer company and they were extremely wealthy. And they owned the country club that Barry Morphew was a caddy at when they were teenagers and she met him. So, I want to say she was like 17 and he was 19 when they met. But anyway, she was loaded and there was a lot of financial stressors going on in their marriage and in the whole picture. So, yeah, the spy pen might have been something more financial. I'm not sure. I think that there was some talk between her and some friends that she suspected he was cheating, but we all know at this point that she was clearly cheating on him. And I remember the Barry Army really trying to paint her black for that. And I was just happy for her, honestly, that she had something fun and exciting at the end of her life. I mean, honestly, that was not something that I found unsavory in the least. I mean, their marriage had been shaky for a long time, it sounded like. She was trying everything to make it work. It wasn't working. He was a serial cheater, it sounds like. And when she was battling cancer, I think the first time she battled cancer was when she was really young, like when they were still dating, even maybe before she turned 20, even. And then the second time was real recent, like in like the year before she was passed away. Um, so she had cancer the one time and then she had it again and she beat it the first time, she beat it the second time. And yeah, the thing with the money was really big. And I want to say that the thing with the money, remember that 26-second video that Barry Morphew put out where he was like, "Oh, Suzanne, your girls need you." And he was putting up like $100,000 reward for her for information leading to her whereabouts or something like that. But that $100,000 was a very significant number because there was like $100,000 that she had borrowed from her dad for him or something like that. There was something to do with $100,000 that was causing a lot of stress in their marriage and a lot of stress in the family, and they were completely loaded. Her family was like multimillionaires. So it really upset Barry. And it was sort of, in my opinion, like a jab at them that he was pretending to be a millionaire, but he was only offering $100,000 to find her. So but I think that somebody matched it. I wanna say that, Mallory's boyfriend's parents matched the $100,000. Like, that's the kind of stand-up people they are. So it was a turned into a $200,000 reward. No wonder why the neighbors didn't hear the gunshot that night, too far away. And see, when they lived in Indiana, where they were born and raised, they were, I've seen pictures of the property, a beautiful, beautiful piece of land, probably 5 acres and extremely well landscaped. Barry had a master's degree from Purdue University in landscape architecture. Um, and they were, in a neighborhood where there were all these 5-acre plots, and Suzanne was the type of person that was in touch with her friends and family multiple times every day. So, it's always been my suspicion that he moved her to Colorado in this remote area so that he could do this because it was only, like, maybe 2 years after they moved, I think. And to move, like, it was right after she found out she had cancer again, though. So she had been re-diagnosed with the cancer right before the move. When you have cancer, you don't move to a place where you don't know what your treatment is going to be like. If you have cancer, that's going to be your top priority is to stick with the medical people that helped you before, in my humble opinion. So, the reason that they moved, though, was that the older daughter was going to college in Colorado. So, allegedly, that was the foundation of the reasoning. Suzanne really didn't want to move. She didn't want to leave her friends and family, place where she'd lived her whole life. Um, on point, Justice. Oh, thank you, Mark. You're so nice. It's so creepy. It's so exciting that they found her. It changes everything. I can't wait to see Tyson Draper's latest. So the hat that I wore was in honor of Tyson Draper. It says "Take it easy, Tiger," and I think the name of his channel is something like Tiger with a Y. So like Tyson, like maybe that's his nickname. And honestly, I was suspicious of him too, you guys. I thought, he's some kind of undercover FBI agent because he kicked butt. I'm just like not I was not buying the whole like school teacher thing. But I think that he is genuine and authentic and that he was a school teacher. He was even a principal for the school that he taught for, but think he went back to teaching. But he might have gotten out of the teaching. I'm not sure. They also found a tranquilizer dart case in his garbage, and I think they found part of that tranquilizer dart encasement in the dryer. I think some that there was two parts of the tranquilizer gun. Maybe some of it was in the garbage and some of it was in the dryer, or some of it was in the garage, is what I'm thinking. I don't remember garbage, but I'm thinking something in the garage and something in the dryer. Was in college trying to be corrections officer and then ended up in Corcoran Shoe, called next to Charles Manson. What? That's crazy. Rolo Moto? That's insane. Wait, I can't even read all this. Ended up in Corcoran Shoe, called next to Charles Manson, Shirhan Kennedy killer, Menendez brothers, prison gang members, etc. Wow, lots of high profile crazy crap. And thank you for your expertise and chiming in here. Which root beer brand do they own? I want to say it's called like Sassafras or something like that. It didn't have their name in it, I don't think. But I remember looking it up. They were from Alexandria, and the root beer company is still around. Um, so yeah, if anybody wants to Google it, I'm not going to be Googling while I'm on here. I'm going to try to stay focused. But they had like their own root beer stands, like A&W root beer types of places. And then they also had the franchise, not just the restaurants, but I believe that their root beer is really popular, drink a lot of places. So big bucks. And her father passed away, after she was disappeared, and he really suspected Barry, and Barry was extremely rude to him and was doing all kinds of weird things with the ownership of the house and the cars he was buying and selling, like, within 2 or 3 weeks of her disappearance, and then trying to get her father to sign something to say that she was deceased, and he was livid, and he was on his deathbed, and that's the kinda guy Mr. Morphew is. Really, really sick. My parents are from Jalisco and Sonolia, and I was sent on the run more than once to Mexico so you can say, I've met the top of the top as far as celebrity status characters from crime and drug worlds. So I've brought it up once before, but you guys, if you have not seen The Two Escobars, see that movie. Um, it's so brilliant, and it teaches you a lot about what Rolo just mentioned. The Two Escobars. I highly recommend it. I'm not even going to say anything about it because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to ruin it for you. Just see the Two Escobars, and then maybe we can talk about it sometime. And let's see. So I share whatever I catch from the cases or videos I look into with you all. So that's my story. No troll or malice intentions, just letting you and your viewers know about who I am and have been. Well, thank you, thank you. And you'll have to hang out to give us your perspective. Absolutely. Um, yeah. So, I've got a lot of perspective from my own life story, and I like to share some stuff with you guys, but I also like to be careful because, YouTube. But one of the things that I just have to share with you about my connection, if you will, to the Morphew case is that Barry Morphew is a dead ringer for my biological father. Dead ringer. Like they're the same man with different hair color. Barry Morphew's hair color is more blonde. My father was more brown haired. But I mean, it just grabbed me. The case grabbed me immediately because of a lot of reasons, but that was one of the biggest ones. And I just felt like I knew Barry because I felt like he was my father and extremely good looking and thinks he's really bright, thinks he's like miles ahead of everyone and just gaslights everyone and doesn't realize that people are onto him. So, thinks that he can outsmart the cops because honestly, I mean, law enforcement officers don't are not required to have any degree beyond high school degree and a police academy graduation. A lot of police academy graduations you could do in 9 months, easy. And I think some of them are even as short as 4 months, depending on what state that you're in. Um, so you don't even need an associate's degree for most police departments. There are some police departments that will require a bachelor's degree, but that's pretty rare actually. And if you have like a master's degree in criminology or something to do with law, then you're going to move up the ranks really quickly. Like, again, in the Idaho 4 case, you've got Corporal Brett Payne, who did have a master's degree in some type of law enforcement. And so, as a new hire, he was promoted to corporal really quickly. And within 2 years of being a police officer, he was handed that Idaho 4 case on a silver platter. So, having a master's degree as a police officer is extremely rare, but it happens. And like I said, those with master's degree are going to move up the ranks really quickly. Um, so yeah, military experience that too. Sorry, I turned that off. I don't know if you can hear that ring. Sometimes the noise canceling works so well. So let's go over to Mahalo. Let's go over to Maui because in my video from yesterday, I think I put a link to that news conference from Monday, September 26th. The news conference about school and about just the rebuilding of Maui. And I rewatched that this morning because there's so much in it and it was so freaking disgusting to me. Um, and I really wanted to talk about it more with you guys because I think it's so important to keep Maui front and center in our hearts and in our minds. Um, there was a lot of misleading information, a lot of insincerity, and I'm just looking at the clock. We're already at 50 minutes. So the news conference, I'm going to link it again. So if you're interested in watching it, I highly recommend it because I think Pele was there. You know, the goddess of the volcanoes was blowing wind massively and rain and telling them to stop with their stupid fake conference, in my humble opinion. But man, when the uh Governor Josh Green is the first to speak after he's introduced. He starts with, our hearts are still broken, and mahalo to the Maui Police Department. We are deeply saddened by the 97 that we know are gone. And of those 97, 85 are ID'd, and we still have 13 open cases. Whoa. So you're trying to say that the numbers are that low? We're down to 13 open cases, and that math don't even math because the 97 that they know are gone, the 85 are ID'd, that would be 12. If that's what he's talking about when he says 13 open investigations. So, let's see, today's the 28th. So this wasn't from Monday. The 26th would have been Tuesday. It was the day after Monday, the 25th, when they allowed people to go back to their property. And I mentioned this yesterday. There were, I think, 150 properties that people were allowed to go to. And only 16 of those properties were gone to by people that lived there, and it was 30 to 40 people, but only 16 properties, which to me speaks volumes. I think some of these families are probably not on the island anymore, either because they moved away or they got cremated in the fire. That's my opinion. Um, I also think that there could be some of those families still on the islands or on that island on Maui that a lot of them have been relocated to the Big Island and to Oahu. But for ones that are still there on Maui that didn't maybe want to go visit the property, that they just couldn't, they weren't ready psychologically, maybe they couldn't physically because they had to go work for a living, or maybe they're in the hospital. There's been no freaking information about anybody injured that is hospitalized. I mean, I've heard like one story about one hospitalization, and that's it. um, but my other concern is that there could be people in Maui that are afraid to come forward, that they don't trust their government and they don't want to flag themselves as survivors if they have an inkling to think that this was something planned, which I am inclined to think that. So you don't want to flag yourself and say, "Oh, you missed me." Like, really? So the county assisted these 30 to 40 people to go back to their 16 properties for 1 to 3 hours to try to search for some of their possessions. And in Governor Green's words, began to get closure. And that's absurd. Closure is not a word that even comes to my mind in a tragedy like this. There's zero closure on your town burning down, on your friends and family burning alive, your pets burning alive. There is never going to be closure. You learn to manage it, you learn to live with it, but that is some serious trauma. You don't get closure from going and sifting through the ashes of what was once your life. That's the most ludicrous crap I've ever heard in my life. Some of the most ludicrous crap. So they're going on and on about the hundreds of millions of dollars that the government is going to reimburse the state of Hawaii for the debris removal. They've done all this extensive testing of the ground and the soil and the air. And so, everything's fine. The kids can go back to school. And, the Department of Health, the Department of Education, They're talking about, that there were 3,001 students to begin with, and that they're down to 45 that they're unable to connect with. But they lead you to believe that that's 45 students, and that's not 45 students. It's 45 families. It's about 100 students, allegedly, that they still haven't heard from. So, again, I'm thinking the same types of things. It could be that people are simply afraid to flag themselves and say, "Yeah, we're still here." And also, some people are going to be maybe hospitalized in the ICU in a coma, and obviously they're not gonna be communicating with anybody. Um, and they could be moved to the mainland, they could be moved to other islands, they could just be in such severe PTSD shock that they're in a frozen state, and I'm, like, kinda kidding, again, going back to the Idaho 8 hours of the frozen shock fear. But also, in all seriousness, absolute post-traumatic stress disorder shock. I mean, it's real and it's serious, and that's what pissed me off so much about that crap in the Idaho case, trying to categorize and use as an excuse something that is very real and very debilitating as a crutch or an excuse for Dylan not calling 911 when obviously she wasn't frozen for 8 hours because she did all kinds of stuff. Um, anyway, I don't want to get distracted with Idaho today. I'm so sick of that freaking case. I'm just sick of the effery. I'm really sick of the effery. To me, that case is plain as day what people thought it was in the beginning and what many of us think still to this day, and I just don't wanna get into it. It's just a big distraction. Um, there were some people that thought that the Idaho 4 case, when it happened, that it was a distraction, masterminded to get people to quit talking about Kylie Rodney, and I wouldn't say that that's impossible. I think that that may have some truth to it. Um, but anyway, we're still talking about Maui. So I think it's really interesting that they say 3,001 students. Do you guys know which mountain was it? It's Mount Everest, I think that's like 20,000 feet exactly. Again, I'd have to Google it. But when they measured it at 20,000 feet exactly, one of these famous peaks, they didn't want people to think that they were estimating. And so they threw in an odd number and said that it was like just under or just over when it was actually exactly 20,000 feet. So 3,001 just kind of reminds me of that. Like they're trying to say, look, we're counting every single person because, however many students there were is flexible. Like all of the students that they expect to come to school are not going to be, not 100% of them are going to start school when the new school year starts. And then they're going to get some new people that they weren't expecting too. So, to have such a specific number, it's like, why can't they just say roughly 3,000? And like I said, they imply that it's 45 students that they're unable to connect with when it's actually 45 families, and those families represent roughly 100 students, is my understanding. Um, but so many of the things that they say, I would think if they were sincere, they wouldn't have to say it. Like, our hearts are still broken, and we're deeply saddened by the ones that were lost. And we know how important education is. We just really do. Like, this is a quote, you guys. We know how important it is. We just really do. They're talking about education. They're talking about getting the kids back to school. Like, you don't have to convince anybody. Like, everyone knows that having kids enrolled in school and having people get back to their normal routine is important. You don't have to convince. I don't think normally you would need to sell that to someone like, "Oh, we really know how important it is." Well, you're the freaking school board representative. You should know. Why were you elected to this position? Why do you have an interest in it if you're not, right? If you don't know. Um, so let's see what else we got. And I also I gotta say something about Kylie Rodney's case, okay? Typically, in my experience, I've been a teen and I've had teens and I've known teens. Typically, when they go to parties, they don't go take naps. I just want to clear that up because that's always been the sales pitch about how people don't know what happened to Ms. Kylie Rodney is because they were all taking naps, right? And she was taking a nap. When you go to a party, like, sure, sometimes there's sleepovers and sometimes people camp out. But that's another thing I want to say is that the only reason any of us believe that this party was a tradition in Truckee is because MC said so. Remember? She came out saying, "Oh, yeah, we've been doing this exact same party ever since I was a teenager and before that. Every year in August, they have a graduation party, even though people graduate like the end of May, the beginning of June. Oh, well, really, it's a senior sending off party. And yeah, we all go have our Lord of the Flies Blair Witch Project party in the woods." Really? And the parents are all down with that because they all did their Blair Witch Project, Lord of the Flies party in the woods, and it was fine when they did it. Okay. Teens don't sleep when they're at parties. Teens don't want to go to sleep usually when their friends are around because they don't want to miss any of the fun. So they're going to be like, "Oh, I'm sleepy. I'm going to go take a nap." No, they'd be more inclined to take NoDoz or something, an illegal substance, or drink some like Red Bulls or something to stay awake. But they're usually going to stay awake just because they're excited and they're teenagers. They don't take naps like that. That's like an old people thing. Like, that's so effing crazy. And we've all been gaslit with both of those crazy stories since Jump. That yeah, we do these Lord of the Fly parties every year. It's our custom in Crazy Town. So anyway, what are you guys saying? I think I probably need to think about wrapping up because we are just over an hour. So authorities are even an investigation of the direct energy weapon and whole are they messed up? Messed up, I mean. Paradise, Montecito, Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, 2017, 2018 wildfires, same thing. Yeah, the Paradise fire is pretty close to Truckee, I think. I want to say it's just like 60 minutes north. It might be more than that. It could be up to like 2 hours north. Um, and yeah, it could be by bird's flight that it is 60 miles, but to drive there in the mountains, it would be 2 hours. I'll have to look at a map. It's been a long time. And aren't maps so fun? We love maps, don't we? Most of us do anyway. London Tower, same too. Michael McAllister, hello, right? And yes, I will always be here for Kylie's justice. Amen. New Prescott, Arizona insurance company pulled out. Homeowners cannot get insurance as of last week. Hoping that's not the next site I live near. Wow, crazy. I think Maui incident is all about its geographical location that makes it a high priority for strategic planning and carrying out missions or defense for an anticipated war with Russia and North Korea, in my opinion. Rolo, I think that you're right on track there, 100%. I would agree with that 100%. Didn't Lindsay say something about the parties for something that have been going on for a while? I thought it was just, MC, because MC graduated from Truckee High School, but Lindsay also graduated from Truckee High School. I don't remember her saying it, and maybe I'm just not remembering. So thanks for your comment, J. Ron the Boomer. Mark says, no party proof, no Kylie proof at Reno Car Show or party, no accurate timeline, no last location. Mom did not search. Nick, AAA, no proof. And I want to mention Sammy, spearheading the search and paralleling that with Barry Morphew, who was a trained volunteer firefighter, that he went on the search on day one, I believe, for his wife, Suzanne. And the fire captain person in charge was not having any of it. They were like suspicious of him right away. And they were just like, no way, you are not searching for your missing wife under my supervision. So they disallowed him. They kicked him off. But isn't there like a meme or bumper sticker or something like that that says, I'll unalive you and then I'll spearhead the search team party for you with you in my trunk or something like that? I haven't Googled it. I keep meaning to because I'm pretty sure it's a meme, a bumper sticker, or both. But it just reminds me so much of Sammy Smith and also Barry Morphew. So, um, FOMO is real. Thank you, Mark Molina. Because creeps won't sleep. Frollo, you funny. Yeah, ain't no rest for the wicked. That's Cage the Wild Elephant. I think I mentioned that song recently. No rest for the wicked, and I said Cage the Elephant. I forgot to say Cage the Wild Elephant. But again, I haven't Googled it to double check. I think it's Cage the Wild Elephant. Um, JC, thanks back. Driftaway says you don't do a check in text to your mom asking for a few extra minutes to get home. Why not just ask to camp at the grounds or stay at a friend's? Yeah, Driftaway, the whole story is so wonky. And also with SF Investigates throwing in there that she went to that gas station and bought, was it 2 gallons of gas? And then it's my understanding that they had to start up her car to charge the phones. And if you only have 2 gallons of gas and you're out there in the Blair Witch Project, Lord of the Flies woods, you're going to want to keep your 2 gallons of gas in your car to get home. So I don't believe that somebody with 2 gallons of gas in their car is going to waste gas charging their phones, that they would be just going home with since their battery's getting dead and they're close to being out of gas. Um, Oh, JC, thank you for being here. You are very welcome. I'm so glad you could make it. So yeah, we're gonna wrap up soon, and then remember the second person to comment after I end the stream will be the winner of the necklace and earring set. And then you'll have to email me your address to send it to. Um, so yeah, that is a very good comment about you're not gonna be asking your mom for a few extra minutes. Right, you're just gonna get home. Um, the tow truck has a dash cam and it's been sealed. Yeah, allegedly. Yeah, I used to trust that Nick G hands down. I thought he just seemed like a straight shooter, but I think he might just be a really good actor. We know that he's an actor. We also know that he's a licensed private investigator. So I'm not trusting him anymore. I mean, if his story was real, I think it was Mark Molina and or Crime Watch with Kenny that said if his story were real, wouldn't he have shown receipts by now that he did actually work for AAA or whatever tow truck roadside assistance company that he's claiming that he worked for? And yeah, the whole thing is just annoying, just like how he interviewed with Squirrel Girl, and then she put out videos about it. She got a lot of heat for that. I think that's what caused her to take her channel down. There was also all this scuttlebutt with, Jeffy Poo. I mean, what a freaking nightmare all that stuff was, and all that stuff took a lot of time and attention away from the case. So, I have no forgiveness for the people who were instigating all that ridiculousness. For people who were caught up in it incidentally, like Squirrel Girl, I have a lot of compassion for CCTV and Kevin Neese. I think those are all very good people that are wanting justice for Kylie, who got tangled up in a bunch of crap that just did no favors for Kylie Rodney. Did a lot of favors for the people that harmed her and that have been keeping secrets. Did a lot of favors for them. The tow truck thing was all fake, JC says. The tow truck had a dash cam. Yeah, I that's what I'm thinking at this point, JC, is that that whole thing was just to get roadside or to get AWP to go out to Boca so that maybe they could slip the vehicle into Prosser or something like that. I don't know. But certainly, it seems like Nick G was sent to intervene with AWP, you know, intercepting them in the parking lot of Best Buy as soon as they pull up into town with their big trailer that says AWP on it. So, like he was stalking them essentially. He tried to play it off like, "Oh, yeah, I just happened to see you." No, you were stalking them. So, yeah, and, again, Mark Molina and Kenny, I think both of you have, really done some good spotlighting on that whole thing. So, thanks, guys. You're awesome. Um Let's see. Mark Molina says law enforcement allowed Sammy to partner with law enforcement. Sammy, who said she would go to jail rather than tell a secret that would get you in trouble. Yeah. And you guys, I don't know if I've really said this. I don't know if you know. I'm pretty sure that Sammy Smith worked for the Truckee Police Department as a teenager, like prior to the Kylie Rodney disappearance, that she like did an internship there or something. I'm not sure exactly, but I'm pretty sure that she was employed by the Truckee PD. If it wasn't Truckee PD, it was a different area law enforcement. I'm almost 100% sure. So I will try to dig up some receipts on that. And anyone who has receipts on that, if you'd like to email to them to me, please do. Justice ATOOZ@gmail.com. And if you don't mind typing my email into the chat, Mark Molina, I'm gonna get speed reading and catch up with the to be in real time with you guys. Um, let's see. My son was an inmate of the month bumper sticker. That's adorable. Rolomola Moda, that's hilarious. Inmate of the month. I will put you in the trunk and lead the search for you. Yep. Thank you, Drift Away. Thank you, thank you. So is it both a bumper sticker and a meme? I'll Google it. There's so many things I always want to Google and then I forget. That's why I write things down. Just look at how the tow truck driver was dressed. Oh, I know, and he's so handsome. I mean, he's handsome in that video, but he's even more handsome in his social media posts because of course he's going to take the most handsome pictures of himself to make them public. But yeah. And then, to say, "Oh, I don't know, it was either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday." Like, wait, you said that it was your girlfriend's dad's birthday, so you know exactly what day it was. So now how are you talking out of both sides of your mouth? I know exactly what day it was. I don't know exactly what day it was. I'm pretty sure what day it was. Yeah. I thought it was $2 a gas for any. I know, I get confused with that too. I think it was 2 gallons of gas. But yeah, I mean, gas up there in Truckee is probably like $10 a gallon, so it's probably 20 bucks. So, But yeah, sometimes I'm like, "Wait, was it 2 gallons or $2?" I think it was 2 gallons because if you listen to, SF Creepo talk about it, he'll say, "Well, and that car would have gotten this much miles per gallon, so she coulda gone up to 32 miles. It's somewhere within these 32 miles." Um, let's see. Truckee, California had been doing parties after parties for the past 20 years. And yes, last text message from Kylie's cell phone ping was at the Truckee campground at 12:30, and that's what I just read. Right. Well, I mean, it's a party town, and um Tahoe is a party town. I mean, people go there to party. They go there to ski, they go there to snowboard, they go there to hook up. um, it's where people go to cut loose and have a good time and spend a lot of money. People from the Bay Area and people from all over the world. It's a world class ski resort. It's like some of the best snow imaginable. And I mean snow with the double meaning, like both the precipitation that comes out of the sky and the other kind that is very likely. Um, Something that has to do with all of these red rums, in my opinion. Um, why didn't the police search the lodge? Why did mom and stepdad move to camp so fast to keep Ellie away? Yeah, it's a really good question. And I'm still trying to find that picture that I have from inside the lodge where it's like this weird, like deity that's up in the ceiling part. That's really spooky. I mentioned it yesterday. I'm trying to find that so that I can post it on my community tab. I made a video on it. Nick AAA, no proof that he dressed in his Facebook presence. And I mean, I noticed right away with the way he was dressed in that interview with AWP is that he had on a brand new white t-shirt. It looks like he just took it out of the package and it's a V-neck. And I don't see a lot of guys that wear V-necks, especially for their white shirts. Typically it's just your regular crew neck. Um, and yeah, I kind of thought, well, maybe he just went and bought that shirt for the interview because he was looking kind of unkempt at the end of the day from, uh, being a roadside assistance guy. He might have had grease on him. He might be a little grease monkey, but that's only if he's a real roadside assistance guy. You get grease on your face and on your clothes. It's like no big deal. And yeah, usually tow truck guys are pretty chewed up looking. I mean, nothing against tow truck guys. They do great work and they provide a great service, but that's a tough line of business to be in because you see all kinds of crap and you have to pack heat. You have to. There's no way you're going to be a tow truck driver, a roadside assistance person, and not be packing. No way. Period. Just like taxi cab drivers. Um, so remember Howard Stern back in the day? I swear Kylie's mother was the winner of that competition. I forget what it's called, but it's about being ugly. No shade. I swear it's her. That's hilarious. She was in the back of the SUV, like by the trunk space. Excuse my uh, Spanglish. Um, Dana, that was the original comment was $2 of gas, not gallons. Oh, really drift away. So it's not just us crossing our little brain wires. Yeah. Cause yeah, $2 of gas again in Truckee would probably have been like a quarter of a gallon, which in a Honda CRV, that's only going to take you like 6 miles maybe. And her house was 6 miles from the road, I think, on dirt roads. I mean, it would take an hour in bad weather, I think, just to drive from the house to the road. And there were times of the year where they couldn't get out, period. I mean, they were backwoods. They were totally backwoods. Um, let's see. I remember because it sounded even more ridiculous than 2 gallons. Well, it's so good to know that because I always thought it was just me and my, like Swiss cheese brain or something. And for the most part, I have a really good memory. So it really bugs me when I can't quite put my finger on it. He's the one that led the rescue volunteers that found her. Um, you mean the roadside assistance Nick? Rolo Moda. What's your channel, Mark Molina? It's called Mark Molina. That's his channel, JC, and it's really good. I highly recommend checking him out. He's very bashful and humble, and he is just, I think, really hitting it hard in a very modest kind of way, and I really appreciate that. Both of us, she got scammed by Nick as I did at first. She being me or she being someone else? Yeah, I totally fell for the Nick thing. When people were questioning him, I always stuck by him. I was like, Nick is solid. Nick is good. Um, let's see. Don't trust Doug either. Yeah, I mean, again, he seems like a straight shooter, and the Nick from AWP seems like a straight shooter, but they've not come clean because they're between a rock and a hard place, I guess. Mark Molina, Mr. Mark, Kylie Rodney should find me, and I might be in a link in Justice A to Z. He's in a lot of my links lately. If in the last couple of weeks, I think I've linked up Mark Molina's videos probably close to half a dozen times almost, maybe. Dana, yes, AWP knows more sus. If you watch the actual live of AWP Kylie, they said that Nick, the tow truck guy, actually came looking for them with all his info. Right. He was not just scouting them and hounding them, he was stalking them. But yeah, I mean, they said both Driftaway. I'm pretty sure they said, he just happened to see our truck in the parking lot here at Best Buy. FYI, I have a community post listing 20 plus Kylie Rodney playlists. I have more to add and welcome more to include. Oh, very cool, J. Rana Boomer. What's the name of your channel? Is it J. Rana Boomer? What is your email again? I'm slow today. It's Justice, so JUSTICEATOOZ at gmail.com. So yeah, I couldn't get two spelled any other way or with the number. I had to do it that way. ATOOZ at gmail.com. So it's kind of unexpected and weird not to confuse anybody. Yes, and shirt logos. Name one gas stop in the past 10 years that doesn't have surveillance on their pumps. Drift away. Such sharp comment right there. Thank you, Mark. You got it. Yep. 2 likes. Maybe you need to hit refresh, mom's AF Pennsylvania style, or maybe I need to show my little thumb plaque again and beg, please hit that like button if you haven't already. Coke ain't new. Coke ain't good no more. Not like it was. It's all crap. Well, yeah. I mean, the was it the invention of methamphetamine that just, crack kind of turned all of it into crap. Um, but I mean, Coke was terrible to begin with. I mean, I knew a kid when I was in middle school in Malibu, California. His father was a narc in Los Angeles, and this guy, eighth grade, got his hands on what he thought was cocaine and he snorted it and died. It was 100% strychnine rat poison. Um, and, again, I'm going to hop over to the Idaho 4 case for a moment because something that I've wanted to say for a long time about Caden Young is that, Emma Bailey and Demetrius Robertson were arrested for supplying Caden Young with the substance that he overdosed and passed away from. And that could have been what's called a hot shot, you guys. So sometimes people are intentionally overdosed and somebody gives them what's called a hot shot, which is intended to off them. So something I've wanted to say for a long time that sorry, I'm just kind of throwing it in here randomly, but maybe we can talk more about it tomorrow or later. We are almost an hour and a half, so I do need to wrap it and say thank you guys so much for joining me. Please share the video if you like it. Check to see if you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed and you might have been unsubscribed because that happens. And if you are not subscribed, know that it's just hitting a button. It's not any kind of commitment. You can unsubscribe easily, and it's no cost, it's no commitment. It just does your content creator a favor by getting their algorithm to a strong, healthy place. And then if you want to have your notification bell turned on so that you're notified, especially because I don't really announce when I'm doing my lives because I honestly don't know myself when I'm doing my lives. I just do them when I can. So let's finish getting caught up and then sign off and say goodbye. And I wear V-necks as daytime shirts all day. Yeah, some people do. It's just not that common. And again, Nick G has an Italian last name, and I would think that somebody of an Italian um, ethnicity might be more prone to stylizing their t-shirts with the V-neck. I don't know, maybe I'm overgeneralizing or pigeonholing or, that kind of thing, being prejudiced. Um, I started with Justice, Rolo Shot, Palmetto. It's great SF, got all the inside information that Ellie does not have. I asked SF, how did he know who bought it? Then he verified to me it was Kylie in the store photo, full of crap. He is 100% like the creepiest creep of all creeps, in my humble opinion. Hey, Nico, back on. Thank you for being here. Squirrel Girl. I thought Nick was possibly her attacker. Drift away, that was my very first thought when I saw him the very first time. Is I thought, dude, nice explanation of why your fingerprints are all over her freaking seatbelt and belt buckle on her pants. That was my knee jerk reaction. So, um, let's see. It jumped, and now I'm trying to go back so I can finish up with you folks. First things first, let's give a bad timeline, and then the dogs won't sniff her out successfully. Yep. Always mess with the timeline. I think I said it yesterday or the day before. That's like being a criminal, like 101. First thing you learn is screw up the timeline. Jaja, that's crazy. My prison coffee mug I brought home with me this last time says that the hardest place between a rock and all that I forgot. LOL. Moscow gas station. Right. There was a gas station in Moscow that A&W to be specific that cracked the case with Koberger. Like, give me a break. Like, that's not the gas station attendant's job, and for the law enforcement to try to play it like that was some of the craziest crap I'd ever heard in my life. I'm with you and your thinking on Kylie, Mark. Drift. Yeah, I said also in the photo with Sammy as Kylie, there are two dogs in the floor. So the gas station has owner's dogs there at the time of the photo. Huh. You can see him in the photo, Mark? I've never noticed that. I've never seen anything like that. I think he's talking about the soft drink. LOL. Um, Nico, everyone adds to the picture, I think. Glad we keep thinking. Thank you. That crossed my mind before Drift Away. EB and DR are informants that were involved. So Emma Bailey and Demetrius Robertson, um, I think they're confidential informants, and I think that they're involved too. But also the Caden Young might have known something. Remember, he was a journalist for the Argonaut, the newspaper of Idaho, the University of Idaho, and he had also been a past president of his fraternity. So he might have known too much. Thank you all. Justice well done contest. We track you if you hit the like button. Hot shots are methods used in prison to take out a rival. Interesting, Mark. I was stuck at the hair length and the weird twist of the body and the thick legs. Never even seen the dogs. Yeah, see, and I always thought the hair length, it always looked photoshopped to me, but I thought maybe her hair just looked really stringy, and so they like took out the stringy part to make it look better. But yeah, why would you Photoshop a last proof of life? Because you want to be as realistic as possible. And yeah, her hands, her arms are all weird, like they airbrushed out maybe a purse and or a bottle. And then, some people talk about it looking like the tattoo on her chest that Sammy has, and I, for a long time, thought, well, that's just a shadow. I was took a long time to convince me that it even might not be Kylie, but I'm pretty sure now that it's not, in my humble opinion. Let's see. We do need to sign off here. Also have you on there, Jazz. Mark, do you know my channel name? Oh, Jayrona Boomer. Yeah, type in your channel name and then Mark or Nico can make it a hyperlink. Sammy has the bump on the cheek. I have a photo of it, maybe two videos on it, I think. And I started to watch that video, but I don't think I got to see the whole thing because I was like, bump on the cheek. I never saw that. Never noticed that. One sec. Um, Annie Ruler, what caliber 9 millimeter is more accurate? Have a lovely day, chat. Gotta go. Yeah, me too. Pixie Knickers. Let's see. Taken of girls' seatbelts and unbuckled pants too. It wasn't that type of unaliving. Yikes, that's a crazy comment, but I'm gonna highlight it anyway. Thank you, Mark. Guess the channel changes with my name. Oh well. I have that meme for you. Oh, good, Nico. Thank you. Cage the elephant from Kentucky. Okay, it's not Cage the wild elephant. It's just Cage the elephant, and I had no idea they were from Kentucky. Um, right. That's not part of their name. It's just where they're from. I had no idea. Very cool. Yes, at the right next to the counter in the Sammy Kylie questionable photo, but the uncropped version. Very cool, Mr. Mark. Thank you. I'll have to check your channel if you have a video or a post about that. First of all, that suspect vehicle number one wasn't even an Elantra. It was a Ford Mustang Mach E with propulsion sound feature that makes it sound like a gas engine vehicle. Yeah, I know. I never was certain that that was an Elantra. It looked to me more like not an Elantra. Same car in all footages. And Nico says, awesome band, amazing live in concert. Yeah, I love that song, No Rest for the Wicked. That's a fun song. If you don't know it, maybe I'll put a link to that in the description because that is a really fun song. No water in her lungs. I just hid Dana's comment accidentally. And Mark Molina put J. Rana Boomer's channel. Thank you for that. Slow today. Took seatbelt off to make it. And yeah, that's a little TMI. TMI. Point 223 Motorola. I figured that out. And by Jade Hunter, please repost it. Sorry. Oh, the comment that was accidentally erased. Jade Hunter, hi bye, LOL, and 23 millimeter, yes, best of the best. All right, you guys, I'm going to sign off. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a fabulous rest of your day, your afternoon. I hope that you can get some fresh air and sunshine and relax, get some rest, be productive, stay hydrated and well nourished, high protein, high vegetable intake. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, insist that people around you are kind to you, and keep fighting for justice. I really believe that every little bit helps. So don't let up. We got to fight for what's right. And yeah, peace out. Sending you light, sending you love. Thank you so much for joining me, especially the mods. Thank you all. I really appreciate you all. Have a great day and see you soon, hopefully tomorrow. Oh, don't forget, second person to comment is the winner.